how do you incorporate sustainability in green practices? Yeah, I guess you need that.
We can pass it around. I don't think that one's working yet. Well, I'll start with my very loud lecturing voice anyway, and the mic will catch up in a minute. It's a challenge at the start of any mega project, isn't it? The balance that has to be found between all of these competing objectives. And I think what's most important, rather than to recommend a particular solution here, is just to commend governments at this stage to actually have that debate and have a clear understanding of that. I mean, if you look at the type of debate that's going on in the UK at the moment around high speed 2, it gives you some idea of the kind of complexity of issues that we have to capture there.
Well, I would agree. I think it's a very difficult question to come up with a succinct answer for in terms of how sustainability issues are going to be addressed in mega projects, but obviously they do need to be addressed, and they will be addressed in a variety of fashions.
Okay.
Yeah, to me, a mega project is a repetitive of little small projects, like 10,000 housing units, just a house multiplied by 1,000. So we can actually, look at the sustainability in a smaller scale and just multiply it.
So break it down into smaller tasks, I guess. Break it down into smaller components and apply sustainability. I think there was another question here.
I would like to raise a question, maybe linking the first presentation with the last presentation, Dr. Brookes and Mr. Yousefi. In the presentation of Dr. Brookes, they take the mega projects, where in the first presentation we have small projects to analyze over the project life cycle. For Dr. Brookes, did you take, or your committee for studying the mega projects, did you take the life cycle of these mega projects? As we said, that maybe the first 10-15% of the project is construction and time, whereas the life cycle is another 85%. Did you take the life cycle of this project over these mega projects?
As I mentioned in my presentation, when I put up the picture of the Hoover Dam, in fact, what we did was very much not do that. What we very much did do was concentrate on the first 15%. So the picture of the Hoover Dam was a huge reminder there that we have to wait for our children or even our children's viewpoint to know in some of these infrastructure developments. The reason why we justified in mega projects looking at that 15% is because that 15% represents a mega amount of money. It represents a huge amount of investment by governments. Mega projects are typically bigger than particular individual countries' GDPs. So in the context of very large projects like this, effectively understanding the cash flow generation at the start of that project is immensely important.
Okay. We'll take two more questions, one here and one there, and then we'll have more time outside during the networking break.
My own question has to do with the mega project and a bit of politics. Because as we know, mega project is always affected by politics. Take for instance, I've gone through some writings or articles before regarding an example of the Stuttgart train station, which was supposed to be built by, you have a network of stakeholders, and at the end of the day, it never came alive because the proper study, maybe from the ideology of the value engineering, was not presented in a right way. But what I want to say now is that from these three lectures, how can we look at it in the political avenue that we always try to bring the mega project alive, because sometimes we just go into it and at the end of the day we just get it crunched. So is it from the aspect of just looking at the cost or the aspect of just looking at the life cycles? Because politics is always affecting the mega project. We move in, and at the end of the day, we get it crunched.
I'm not sure I understand the question entirely, but I'll say that any time, in my opinion, any time that you're dealing with a mega project, you have a political aspect of it, right? So it's not the same thing as going out and building a villa, right, for yourself. You're by definition investing mega amounts of money that are going to have a substantive environmental change on the economy in some sense, and that by nature is going to involve politics. So I don't think I think it'd be hard to find a mega project that does not have a political aspect. So I don't know if that answers the question, but it certainly talks about the political aspect.
All right, let me just say that when you talk about studying or assessing any project, you know, the most important is the complexity, not the size. Or, you know, for example, we've done value engineering to a $1 billion project, and it took us 3 days, and it was enough. While we studied a $50 million project, and it took us 5 days, and it was barely enough. Well, the first one is a pipeline. Yeah, okay, it's 95% steel. So you just take a segment and multiply it by how many. So in all projects, I think what makes a difference is not the size or the cost of the project, it's the complexity of it. Now, I just want to add something to also to my presentation, that most of the value engineering studies are in the infrastructure, number one, which include roads and bridges. Number two is in oil and gas. Third is on IT. The last is on buildings. So, you know, where the money is, for example, in the Gulf area, 80% of the cost of the project are not in buildings. They are in oil, gas, bridges, and all that. Thanks. I hope that answers to your question.
One last question here.
Thank you very much. It's not a question, it's just a point to add. If we look at the projects, regardless if it's a mega project or a small project, we look at it from a macro perspective and micro perspective. From a macro perspective, we can look at Dubai, for example. We have the vision of the leaders here to have a green economy vision when it comes to projects and cascade it down. We have got the 6 tracks of Sheikh Mohammed on green economy, in which we embed sustainability into the projects, regardless if it's small or big projects or mega projects. And for the small projects, actually, we look at the integrated project delivery approach to let all the parties talk to each other towards achieving the goal of sustainability in a way that it will reduce the cost, it will reduce the time, and it looks at the long term and the vision, delivery, and operation of the projects. This is the point I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's give our panelists a round of applause. And thank you for an interesting set of presentations. Just a couple of announcements. There is a book signing by Dr. Harold Kersner that's going to be on the way to the registration area. So if you walk out of here, take a right. Dr. Kersner is doing a book signing session. He is an authority on project management, of course. He's an author and a senior executive director at the International Institute for Learning. And that will be followed by approximately a 1-hour networking break. You will have an opportunity to network with our panelists and ask them any questions or follow up on their presentations. Thank you very much, and we'll see you later today.